Good morning, America. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us this morning. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this hour. There are a ton of important news articles out there for us to talk about this morning, but my bullet points this morning is specifically related to the issue of immigration. Last night, our alleged leader, President Obama, gave a speech that basically stated that if Congress did not act in a timely manner, his timing, of course, that he would act without them. And I, for one, am getting a little bit tired of the draconian and dictatorial tone of this president. Mr. Obama, you are not a dictator, much to your chagrin. You have no right to demand that Congress act at any time frame, much less yours. Immigration should not be passed quickly. And personally, I'm getting tired of hearing that everything should be done in a bum's rush, without review, without a solid look at what is actually being accomplished, and without a clear and defined understanding of the consequences or unintentional consequences of those laws and actions. I recognize, Mr. Obama, that you feel as if your particular legislative initiative is important because you want to accomplish your agenda. But I'm here to tell you that the real goal of what America should be looking at and what our Congress should be looking at are not the issues on your agenda. We have had illegal immigration in this country for 100 years. It's been out of control for probably 75 or 80 of that. Taking the time for Congress to do a long-term evaluation of immigration policy will not make one iota of difference. And frankly, any attempt to do any immigration reform without a sealing of the borders should be nullified and considered null and void. First and foremost, the borders must be sealed permanently and verifiably. Then and only then can we begin a discussion about how to handle the, you allege, 11 million, I suggest probably somewhere closer to 20 million illegals in our nation. And this should be handled in a way that forces them to come forward out of the shadows, to use the senator's words. I recognize that these folks are going to be uncomfortable doing so, but they have violated the law, and we have a right to know who they are and where they are. First things first, border sealed, 100%, no violations. Then and only then can we discuss the issue of how to deal with the 11 to 20 million illegals. Only after the borders are sealed, Mr. President, not a moment before. And not a whitewash sealing, not a sealing that we classify by saying we have these high technology drones and fences and things like that. We need a fence, a literal metal, steel fence. We need a buffer zone and a dead man zone between two fences. And we need to make it clear that a crossing of that border will result in live fire. After that, and when we see that that has resulted in a dramatic or the elimination of anyone crossing that border, then and only then, sir, can we begin to talk about real immigration reform. Our borders are sovereign. They are not to be trifled with or violated by anyone. It's not unreasonable to expect that what you would do is exactly what happened back in 1986 under Reagan, that you would give us a promise of future solutions that would never come to pass. I promise you, and I warned our listening audience yesterday, that this Senate bill that was put out by Rubio and Schumer and Durbin and Menendez would be watered down to the point where it had absolutely no teeth. I said it yesterday, and literally last night it happened. It didn't even take 24 hours. Not even 24 hours. Mr. President, before you make one single move towards any more unlawful immigration into our nation and allowing any unlawful and, quite frankly, unconstitutional amnesty, the borders must be sealed. Then and only then, after a no-compromise policy on our border, can we begin to talk about how to deal with the actual illegals who are already here. And that's the end of the bullet points. If you'd like to comment or have an input on this issue of immigration, you can feel free to give us a call on our Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline. Our telephone number is 257-1111 and 866-554-6636. That's 257-1111 and 866-554-6636. You know, if you're not aware of it, a recent suit was filed by Immigrations and Customs actual officers against the federal government because they're stating and stating emphatically that the DREAM Act that was passed by executive order by Obama related to immigration was barring them from doing their job and following the law. The law says that they must arrest individuals who are illegal. The DREAM Act says you can't. And so Obama again has violated the law with another executive order, just like he did when he instituted those people into the National Labor Relations Board. Now, this case was just before a federal judge who made a determination that, yes, in fact, these ICE officers had standing, which means in a court of law, you are the standing in a court of law states that basically you have a right to file that lawsuit because it directly affects you. You can't, in a court of law, you can't file a lawsuit on behalf of someone else because you don't have standing. That person has to file it themselves because they are the ones who are affected by it, and they are classified as having, quote-unquote, standing. So if you've ever wondered what that term meant, that's what it is. You have to have a direct correlation to the case. And these officers were given the go-ahead by a federal court stating that, yes, they do have standing. Yes, this case may move forward. The federal government is fighting back with all their worth. Folks, you got to recognize where this is coming from. This is another example, just one more in a long list. This president is completely out of control, and it appears day by day that he grows more and more arrogant and feels that his power is more and more independent of the Constitution and the separation of powers. I strongly suggest that Mr. President look back at the Constitution, reread it again, since apparently he has not read it since his days as a college professor, and evaluate whether or not he's in line or out of line with what our Constitution declares. I know he won't do that, but I have to say it for the record. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be more than happy to take your calls on this, and we've got a few other news stories to talk about, including the fact that Senator Menendez and his shameful diatribe. We'll be back in just a moment.
I witnessed a blindfolded Cupid hit a moving target 300 yards away while talking on a new U.S. Cellular smartphone. Impossible? Think again. U.S. Cellular has great new smartphones under $100, like the Motorola Electrify 2. Believe that.
Say hello to smartphones for under $100. U.S. Cellular. Hello better. Certain restrictions apply. Applicable smartphone data plan required. New 2-year agreement and $30 device activation fee may apply. See store for details.
You're watching your favorite TV show, and something important is about to happen. Your phone rings. What do? You can't pay attention to both. The same thing happens when you talk on the phone while driving. you stop noticing things like slowing cars or a light turning red. No call or text is worth a life. Remember, when you're on the road, stay off the phone. Learn more at nsc.org, a public service from the National Safety Council.
Hey, there's my son.
Hey, Dad.
What's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Well, it's just sort of.
To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
All right. Yesterday I announced a program by Family Fun and Fitness called the Rape and Assault Prevention Classes. These are going to be held on February into March. This is six classes, and they are going to be held over a course of 6 weeks. The cost of that class is $10 per person per class, or $50 if you pay for all 6 classes in advance. The location or the venue where this is going to be held is in the Country Cupboard in Licking, Missouri, on Route 63. And it's open to men, women, girls, and boys, and anyone who might be interested in stacking the odds in their favor when violence comes to visit them. The instructor for that will be Art Thomas. He will be here in our studio on February 6th to talk more about that. If you're interested in signing up for that class, you can do so at the Country Cupboard on Highway 63 in Licking. And then you can also send an email to me here at mike@americasvoicenow.org, and I will make sure that those get through to our Art Thomas so that he can book you for that class. Now, I do have to tell you that there's a limited number of classes, and so or limited number of seats in the class. So it's important that you get an email to me ASAP if you're interested in taking that. I would encourage, by the way, that mothers and daughters take this class together if at all possible. So that would be a great way for you guys to work together on it, and then practice the tactics and the ideas that you learn together. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let me commend you on the work that you do, but I've got to call a little contest with you this morning.
All right, sir.
For one, I thought Rubio's proposal, while not perfect, I do think is better than nothing. And yesterday you called John McCain a traitor. I think that's very strong language and language that I wish you wouldn't use. And the other thing is that President Obama, I'm no greater fan of his than you, pardon me. But until that is ruled upon, that executive order is ruled upon, you cannot come out and say that he broke the law. The law will be ruled upon in the courts. Now, I disagree with it as vehemently as you do.
Are we talking about
broken the law.
Are we talking about the DREAM Act?
Yes.
Well, he has broken the law because he's already stated that his executive order overrules existing law, and a president cannot do that.
Well, I understand that.
Now,
that's going to be ruled on.
But I don't need the court to tell me when the law has been broken.
You need the court. I don't need it to tell me that I think that it has been broken. But in our system, the court has to rule on that before it is actually a breaking of the law. Now, it sounds like I'm trying to be, at best, a pragmatist here, or giving some legitimacy to this president, which I think he has virtually none. But I just think we need to be, the one thing is, I do not believe, I'm not a great fan of John McCain either, but to have you come out and call him a traitor.
Well, let me tell you something, that John McCain was instrumental in the National Defense Authorization Act. He was instrumental in the Patriot Act. He was instrumental and a strong supporter and voter for all of the bailouts that went down. And I have to tell you, that to me tells me all I need to know about where that man stands in reference to the United States of America.
Absolutely wrong, in my opinion, as well. But to call someone a traitor...
Let me tell you, anyone who signed the NDAA is under the umbrella of traitor. The National Defense Authorization Act, which is a clear and open violation of the constitutional rights of any and every American, is a traitorous act.
Well, I mean, we have a, like I say,
if you can give me some constitutional authorization that allows the federal government to have the president determine and dictate under his verbiage alone and under his thought process alone that Americans can be snatched off the street and held indefinitely in detention until the end of hostilities in the war on terror, I will retract my statement. But until then, I will not.
Okay. Well, I just think that it is inflammatory language, and that
my job is to inflame America, to wake them up.
Your job is to. I'm not going to tell you what your job is, but I would hope that your job is to inform and to get people energized.
It is, and I'm letting everybody know.
Not to inflame.
It is, and I'm letting everybody know that if you were a congressman and you signed for the National Defense Authorization Act, that you betrayed America.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but traitor is an awfully strong language for someone who has been in his position, and I don't care for the man myself.
I'm asking you what the difference is between betrayal in office and treason.
I think betrayal can be. I think traitor implies a desire to hurt your country, and to damage your country. The desire to do that, not wrong-headed policies, not. I don't think that. I just do not believe that the word traitor is a fitting term for him.
Well, I would beg to differ with you. A person who is, and this is a dictionary example, a person who is guilty of treason or treachery in betraying friends, country, a cause, or a trust. And right. I'm going to tell you right off the bat that he was guilty of treachery because he wrongfully and quite skillfully approved and was part of the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. And in addition to that, the Patriot Act before that, back in 2001. He has betrayed his friends. He has betrayed his country. He has betrayed a cause of freedom. And he has also betrayed the trust of the American people who put him into that place to represent them, not to enslave them. And we can disagree or agree to disagree from that point forward. But I thank you for your call. Okay. Menendez. And if you'd like to comment on that last discussion, you're more than welcome to do so. By the way, when you send me that email on that rape and assault prevention class that's coming up on starting February 11th, make sure that you put in the subject line Class 7 or the rape class so I know what that's about, and I can make sure I get that over to the right people. Okay? Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, thanks. How are you?
I thought I'd change horses just a little bit here.
Sure.
I love these public messages when they want somebody to do something. They just keep putting it on there, And I like the one now about just stop bullying, all right? I would say to the Highway Patrol and all the police that set up roadblocks and pull people over and shake them down for a little bit of nothing, just stop bullying. And to all the judges and the prosecutors that don't know nothing about the Constitution or anybody's civil rights and treat everybody like they're criminals, just stop bullying. That's all I had to say.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Mr. President, just stop bullying. Milk Board of Missouri, just stop bullying. Thank you very much. That was a good call. Okay, a couple of quick points for some of our sponsors. I'd like you folks to make sure that you get a hold of Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 2930116 for custom remodels and new construction, light commercial work, everything from pole barns down to welded pipe corrals, additions, even offers a construction management program to help you act as a general contractor. Bill can be reached at 2930116. And our dear friend Mary over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, the best damn bakery in 100 miles. You can get a hold of her at 255-2253. She's at number 2 Evans Arcade on the Square in West Plains, 255-2253. Also, our friends the Battery Station on Washington Avenue, 303 Washington Avenue to be precise, 417-257-7799. And you can find them on the web at batterystation.com. Also, the Friends Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. And you can reach Brian down there at 870-492-4030. You can find them on the web at ozarkmtnselfreliance.com. And or you can call Brian at 870-492-4030. Thank you guys for your support of our program. And folks, when you go down to visit those places or you go into any of these places and do business with them, let them know that you heard about this show or you heard about their place on this show. It's important for them to understand that. Okay, we're going to have to take a break at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the federal FBI's investigation of Senator Menendez. Senator Menendez, and I told you about this story the other day, he's being investigated by the FBI for his ties to a doctor where these two were going down into the Dominican Republic and having these alcohol, fueled parties. And apparently there are a number of witnesses and individuals that are testifying that he was having sexual relations with underage girls. They've got a number of statements from these girls, and apparently they're going to take a deeper look at this. And now they have raided the doctor's house, his cohort in this, who allegedly was involved in this, in providing these young girls to Menendez. Just a quick note, but Menendez is one of the individuals on the Senate crew of that group of 8 that is proposing the new immigration legislation. And while I that earlier caller had brought up the issue about this immigration reform law, my concern with the immigration law is not, and by the way, it's not Senator Rubio's specific legislation. This is a piece of legislation that is created by him and 7 others. Unfortunately, the Democratic side of this thing is the most liberal group of all, which is Durbin and Schumer and that ilk, and including Menendez here. And I have to tell you, irrespective of what they propose, how this thing gets written out and the legislative final discussion or the final legislation that's delivered is what really matters. And I've got to tell you, it never comes out the same way. You remember Obamacare, it was 2,000 pages, but so far they've delivered 15,000 pages of regulations and legislation, none of which was in the original bill. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. In Alabama, a 6-year-old boy is being held hostage in an underground bunker.
Police are communicating with him through a PVC pipe. They've been in that bunker since yesterday afternoon when police say the man boarded a school bus and demanded at least one child. Now, when the driver refused, he was shot several times and he died later.
Fox's Elizabeth Brown. The shooting comes as a national debate grows over gun violence.
2 of the most famous faces on either side of the gun control debate will appear before the Senate Judiciary Committee today. The National Rifle Association's Wayne LaPierre will say there is no need to ban assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines or expand background checks.
Fox Radio's Rich Johnson, astronaut Mark Kelly, and wife Gabby Giffords appearing in favor of tighter restrictions. And our economy shrinking 0.1% for the first time in 3.5 years. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Hey, there's my son.
Hey, Dad.
What's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Well, it's just sort of.
To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hey, there's my son.
Hey, Dad.
What's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Well, it's just sort of.
To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Sleep Mart of West Plains and Mountain Home wants to save you money this tax season. You can get $100 to $300 in instant rebates on select 2013 mattresses. They also have 20% off all recliners and 50 to 80% off overstock bedroom furniture. Don't forget, they offer free layaway and same as cash financing. Sleep Mart is home of both Tempur-Pedic and Serta iComfort sleep systems. Open Monday through Saturday from 9 to 6. Tax time savings can be found at Sleep Mart of West Plains and Mountain Home.
Another year older, another birthday blood. Not when you're listening to the Birthday Club here on 107.1 The Point each morning during the morning show. Proudly presented by Ryan's Family Restaurant. Call in your loved ones, your mom, dad, grandma, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, whoever, for their chance to be the winner of a great buffet and drink from Ryan's Family Restaurant. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you from 107.1 The Point and Ryan's Family Restaurant.
Today, you hit the snooze bar. You checked your email. You checked your fantasy football team. You rejected an insulting trade offer. You ate your lunch. You did all the things that one normally does the day before a 175-mile-per-hour hurricane blows through your city, leaving it in a state of ruin. You never know when the day before is the day before. Prepare for tomorrow at ready.gov/today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
News Talk 107.1 The Point weather sponsorships are available for your business marketing plans. Contact Cody or Josh at 255-2548 for more information.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, a partly cloudy sky, mixed clouds and sun and breezy through the day, the high 44. Partly cloudy and colder tonight, low 24. A mostly sunny day for tomorrow, high 44 degrees. Plenty of sunshine Friday, high 38. I'm staff meteorologist Jim Rinaldi, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
The winter storm season is here. When we have another ice storm, are you ready? What will you do for heat, food, or water if the power goes out for an extended period? Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance can help you get ready. We have storage food, water purifiers, alternative cooking sets, and a whole lot more. Come see us at 3225 Highway 62 East, Suite number 3, just a half mile past Walmart in Mountain Home. Or call us at 492-4030. That's Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance.
Hey, there's my son.
Hey, Dad.
What's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Well, it's just sort of.
To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
All right, we are back. We were talking about this issue of the immigration reform, and if you'd like to comment on that, you're welcome to give us a call on our Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline at 257-1111, 866-554-6636. We're going to take a couple of quick calls now. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Listen, that last caller, he didn't read the Constitution. They wouldn't need people like you on the air to inflame them, because if they read the Constitution and seen what it said, they would know that what their so-called public servants are doing would inflame them alone. I remember a few years ago when Gary Hart was running for president or considering it, someone referred to him as a public servant, and he corrected him and said, "No, I'm not a public servant. I am a professional." Well, thank God he didn't get in there, okay? And I'll tell you what. If
That's the first honest statement I've heard from a politician in decades.
Hey, and I'll tell you what. If that fella feels that your words, which are words in the Constitution, your words are inflammatory, then they should have threw George Washington out on his can when he accused Benedict Arnold and also acted accordingly to the traitor.
Yeah. Well, you know what it really comes down to, and everybody's got entitled to their opinion on this.
Yeah.
And I support everyone having their own opinion. I use language that is very strong. I agree. And to be honest, there are some people who probably don't appreciate that. And that's okay, too. If you want to hear pabulum, you can go watch Communist News Network, or you can go watch Fox News, or, you can go out there and watch MSLSD, and you can hear those guys give you the fluff all day long. My goal is to tell the truth, and my goal is to make sure that I'm calling the shots the way I see them, and tell you the truth where all of the other mainstream media outlets are going to sit there and feed you nonsense. Now, the truth of the matter is, if more of our mainstream media actually reflected or told the public what was really going on in Washington and how these folks have been betraying us for decades, we wouldn't have them in office. But America has been put to sleep, lulled to sleep by a lot of lies and misinformation, and I aim to change it. And that's as simple as I can make it. So
wake them up, Mike. Wake them up.
Some people will agree, some will disagree. That's okay. Even a politician will tell you that at any given moment, 50% of his votership hates his guts. So
another thing that's scary too is this fellow wants to hang his hat on a judge's opinion. Then he's turning that judge into or the judicial system into a collective dictatorship, if you think about it.
Well, yeah, and we can talk about that, but I'll give you a perfect example. If the judge is always right, then what about Morning Landary?
There you go.
Right. Hey, listen, I've got to grab this other call. I appreciate your call and input. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Hey, I want to add something to the conversation here about your immigration.
Fire away.
Not only are we having trouble with illegal immigration, but these visas that were given out both for worker visas and education.
Right.
I mean, all the hijackers of 9/11 were all on visas.
Yeah.
And they just disappeared. There's no enforcement whatsoever from ICE.
Right. Well, they say that 40% of all the illegal immigrants are not actually border crossers from South America or whatever, but they are, what they are actually people who came here on a visa from, Europe, from the Middle East, from Asia, and wherever, and they have just overstayed their visa. In other words, they came, their visa expired, they were supposed to go back home, and they were like, yeah, right, forget it, I'm staying right where I am. And we don't know who they are. We don't know where they live. We have no idea about what their status is. Are they working? Are they, we have no idea.
No, and that's,
so it's not just Latin American immigration that is a concern here, And,
yeah, you're right.
It's I have to tell you, this whole issue of immigration really burns me up in the sense that we keep talking about, well, we have to get these people to come out of the shadows. What we need is a law that says if you don't come out of the shadows and you got 90 days to do so, when we do find you, we eject you with prejudice. We eject you out of our country, and we make sure that you can never come back again.
Yeah, we actually need the government to do their job.
Well, that is their job. That's my point. That is their job. The law says that if you are found to be here in violation of the law and you haven't been processed properly, whether it's through a visa or through immigration process through customs, then you've got to go. And the law says you need to go. Now, we can play all kinds of games with that and say, well, what does you got to go mean? That's Clintonian. That's a Clintonian dictionary that they want to use. So the reality is that what we need to do is say to these immigrants who are here, look, once we seal our border, you're going to have 90 days to surface. If you do not surface in that 90-day, or you make it 180 days, I don't care. But the point is this. If you don't surface and we find you, once we find you, you are done. We are ejecting you out of the country, and we are going to take fingerprints and facial recognition and biometric data, and if we catch you back in here again, we either have the option to put you in prison for life in a camp where your services are going to be absolutely minimal. In other words, there's got to be some teeth to this thing. They've got to be afraid to get caught again.
Yeah, and this goes back to John McCain. Again here.
Well, he's a senator out of Arizona, and I have to tell you, I just don't see him fighting as strenuously as he should and or could against immigration, and his own state is overwhelmed with it.
Yeah, he's no help to the country, and hasn't been for 30 damn years up there in the Senate.
Well, I don't like McCain. I never liked him. I didn't like him when he ran for president, and I frankly don't like him now. And every time I see him or hear him talk, I'm reminded of how little I did like him and how much less I like him day by day.
He left Arizona a long time ago. He's a Washingtonian now.
Yeah, he's a consummate politician who will tell you exactly what you want to hear so that he can either achieve his agenda and or when it comes time for re-election, then he pulls out the flag and wraps himself up in it. So, hey, listen, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, I had to call back. I did not hang up on you. I got cut off.
Oh, that's okay.
Again, my point is intent to do harm is traitorous. And I agree with everything you said about him just now. I think he's the consummate politician. And I think he is a Washingtonian. But
you see, you're making a mistake in the sense that you think that because he passed the National Defense Authorization Act and was involved heavily in that process and in the original Patriot Act, that he didn't recognize that was causing harm to the constitutional oath he took. And I disagree. I think he did know that. I think he couldn't possibly have done that without knowing. And quite frankly, if he didn't know after all of these years in the Senate, then he has no business in there.
Well, I think there's a lot of them that fit that bill.
It's a question of it's not a question of intent when obviously he has an obligation and a responsibility to know what the intent of his functions are and the consequences, and unintended or otherwise.
Well, let me just say this. Let me say this in one response, and then I wanted to say something about the Rubio real quick.
Okay.
Is that for someone to equate John McCain with Benedict Arnold is senseless rhetoric. It's absolutely senseless rhetoric. The other thing is,
I don't think I did. I don't think I did.
You did not, but a caller did. No, sir, you did not. The other thing is what I want to see with the Rubio thing is that seems to make, it's not what I would do, but it seems to make some sense to me. Now, I know what happens as a rule when they water it down till it has no teeth. But I want to see what Rubio will do if this thing does get watered down. I want to see, because I'm eyeballing him for a run in 2016, and I want to see what he does. And I think we ought to support, legislation that goes at least to some degree to fix the problem.
I agree with you, but I don't think any legislation should even be discussed until the borders are locked down hard.
I don't think promises are enough. Let me say that.
Look, we keep going through that. Obama said pass the budget and pass the fiscal cliff and we'll give you the tax breaks later, which never materialized. That's been said over and over and over and over again.
Mr. Reagan said his immigration deal was the biggest mistake he made in his presidency.
Absolutely, and you know what? It always comes with promises that are always never fulfilled.
Just like spending cuts.
So, yep. Hey, listen, I appreciate
Thank you very kindly.
You're welcome. Thank you. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
I just want to first off say that my name is Gerardo Perez. I actually live in Tennessee.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And I just want to comment about the immigration laws.
Yes, sir.
I'm actually Hispanic descent, and I've actually talked to a couple of people, actually close friends of mine, and there are good, decent people out there that are actually trying to come to the United States looking for the American dream and actually succeed in life, because they actually come from poverty areas in Mexico or the Middle East or Southeast Asia.
Right.
And I just want to say that America needs to understand that America was basically based upon immigration in the early years. European settlers came to America and which started, this great country that we live in right now. And all these laws that people are, I guess you want to say the government is passing, I think is BS, quite honestly.
Well, look, I'm all for immigration, but it has to be lawful. And I have to tell you, I can't agree with people who have come over the border illegally, because what you did, your first act in your new country was to violate the law. And I got a problem with that. And to be honest with you, the fact that we sit here and say, I can't tell you how many news stories I've seen where a guy who's an illegal immigrant is on his second or third DWI and finally kills somebody or goes in and assaults someone, and he's been caught before and released. It's catch and release. It's like, that's not what this is about. You can't violate our laws with impunity. And if you come over here and you start your relationship with your new country by immediately breaking a very clear and sovereign law and not respecting that particular aspect of the country's laws, then what makes me think that you're going to be willing to respect the rest of them? I'm not saying that there aren't good people, and I'm not saying that our immigration system isn't broken. I don't think it should take 10, 15 years to get to become an American citizen when you start from the outside. But I am going to tell you that the difference of what they're talking about in this bill they keep saying, well, you're going to have to go to the back of the line after this probationary window and all of that. Well, guess what? That's not the same as a guy who lives down in Costa Rica and wants to apply to live here, because he's got to sit in Costa Rica for the next 5 or 7 years while he's waiting. These people are already here, and they have the benefits and all of the advantages that come with being an American, even though they have to go to the back of the line, but they go to the back of the line only in time. You see the problem? And the other aspect to this is we cannot have any discussion. I mean, we should be as adamant and uncompromising on this as Obama is with everything that he throws down. Here's the deal, Mr. President. Until the border is sealed, and verifiably so, there will be no discussion about immigration. Now, you get that done, and we'll be more than happy to sit down and immediately begin a dialogue. But until that is accomplished, you can take immigration and you can put it on the back burner, because that's where it belongs. Seal the border first, and then we'll talk, and not until.
And you're absolutely right. I totally agree with you. And one other thing I want to comment about is that all the people that actually have visas to actually work here are the wrong kind. I know a couple of guys that actually that were down here in the United States with visas, and once they committed a crime, they bailed out and went back to their origin of where they came from, their country.
Right.
And I think that's I think the government needs to, I guess, tighten up on who they select and give out visas to. Actually do the research, sit down, and
You're absolutely correct. If you're going to get a visa here, that means that you've got to bring some skill, some asset, some benefit to the rest of the country. But we can't just open our arms wide open and say, everybody who's down on their luck, come here and get everything for free. We can't afford to pay for ourselves. We sure as heck can't afford to support everybody else as well. So, I mean, it's clear that we have a broken system. And I'm not saying there's any easy answers, but I am saying that we got to take this like we eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
You're absolutely right, sir.
Hey, thanks so much for your call. I appreciate you. Folks, we're going to take a hard break. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now.
The Gun and Knife Show is coming to the West Plains Civic Center on February 9th and 10th, presented by TLR Shows. The show is open to the public. Admission is $5 for both days. Children under 12 are free with a paying adult. Concessions will also be available. Come in and buy, sell, or trade. The Gun and Knife Show at the West Plains Civic Center, February 9th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and February 10th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. For more information, call 417-778-6767.
A developer at a U.S.-based critical infrastructure company was caught outsourcing his work to China, meaning that he was paying someone else to do his job. Here's how Bob spent his day. Surfed the internet for a couple of hours, and then he watched cat videos. 11:30, he went to lunch. 1 o'clock, he went on eBay. 2 o'clock to 4:30, he was on Facebook. 5 o'clock, he went home. Cat videos? Really?
Saturdays noon to 3 and weekdays at 7:35 for your Digital Minute. It's Kim Commando on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
A developer at a U.S.-based critical infrastructure company was caught outsourcing his work to China, meaning that he was paying someone else to do his job. Here's how Bob spent his day. Surfed the internet for a couple of hours, and then he watched cat videos. 11:30, he went to lunch. 1 o'clock, he went on eBay. 2 o'clock to 4:30, he was on Facebook. 5 o'clock, he went home. Cat videos? Really?
Saturdays noon to 3 and weekdays at 7:35 for your Digital Minute. It's Kim Commando on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Make your voice heard on all today's biggest headlines. On the next Alan Colmes Show, from the war of words over spending and the debt to the battle over gun control. Call in to be a part of the liveliest talk on radio. It may be cold outside, but the debates over the big issues of 2013 are just heating up on the next Alan Colmes Show.
Weekdays 9 to midnight. It's the Alan Colmes Show on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point.
Hey, there's my son.
Hey, Dad.
What's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Well, it's just sort of.
To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
All right, we're back. We're talking on this immigration topic, and it's clearly a hot one. I think, folks, that we have an opportunity to finally work with the issue of immigration in a tactful and well thought out manner. But that means that we can't start with threats from a president. That means that we can't start to pass it right away because he says so. We've been buffaloed and given the bum's rush on way too many bills as a result of this type of policy. And I'm going to tell you, anything that this president wants and tries to ram down our throats, I am immediately dead set against. Because the simple truth is, if he wants it rushed through so fast, that means there's something in it I'm not going to like. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. I mean, anytime this guy is going to try to ram something down our throats, it is not in our best interest. And that's as simple as I can make it. So until we have one thing and one thing resolved, and that is a absolute sealing of the borders, a verifiable sealing, then there is nothing else to talk about. That's my position on it. I'm not going to change it. You seal the borders first and foremost, and we can talk about anything else, and everything else is on the table. But nothing is on the table until those borders are locked down and sealed. End of argument. Simultaneously, we make sure that we immediately go back out there, and all of those visas that have expired, we let those individuals know that they have 90 days to surface and declare who and where they are and give an explanation and accounting for themselves. That's it. I mean, right off the bat, you take care of 40% of the problem, according to the people in Washington themselves. 40% of these people who are immigrants are not immigrants who crossed the border from Mexico. They're immigrants who came in here on an airplane with a visa to visit here and then never left. They came on a student visa, or they came on a work visa, or they came on a visa to just come here on vacation and just decided to stick around. Well, we need to find out who they are, and we need to find out where they are. And then we need to say to them, what do you think you're doing by violating our laws? But until the issue of a sealed border is resolved, nothing else can transpire. Nothing. It's not optional. The standard simple phrase is this: no compromise on the border issue. Seal the border first. We'll have any discussion you want later. Seal the border first. No compromise. Seal the border first. No compromise. Seal the border first. No compromise. Okay. I do want to give a shout out to Sheriff Underwood from Oregon County, by the way, who posted a letter today in concert with many other sheriffs around the nation, but more specifically in Missouri, to the president, declaring that he will not violate the rights of his citizens and their constitutional rights in the event of a federal mandate on gun control. And so, applause to George Underwood from Oregon County. And I want you folks to be aware of the fact that he has made a declaration that he will stand firm with his constituency and his citizens and protect them against a government out of control, which I think everybody understands exactly where that's at. There are sheriffs around the nation that are signing these declarations and basically saying, I will stand firm. You will not come into my district. You will not disarm my citizens. I will not allow you to pass legislation that limits their ability to own, possess assault weapons, if you want to call them that, or any kind of firearm, any kind of ammunition, and any kind of magazine. By the way, I got a couple of responses back yesterday in reference to this reloading class thing, and I'm going to be working on that over the course of the next couple of days to see if we can't put some reloading classes together for you guys. Don't forget the rape and assault prevention classes. They're on Mondays at 5:30 p.m. Starting February 11th. It's $50 if you sign up for all 6 classes, and it's for men, women, girls, and boys. It's rape and assault prevention. So it's not just rape, it's assault prevention too, which includes bullying in the schools and that kind of thing. Art Thomas will be the teacher of that. He'll be in studio on February 6th, next Wednesday, to talk about that. You can sign up at the Country Cupboard up on Highway 63 in Licking, and then you can also send an email to me at mike@americasvoicenow.org. I'll make sure I get that registration up to him. Or at least your contact information. Then you can ask all the questions you want. You You don't have a whole lot of time, though. There's only like 8 seats available per class, and I'm sure he can add additional classes and in other locations as well if there's enough interest. So make sure that you get some information to me. I can translate it up to him, and we'll get the ball rolling that way. We're going to wrap our show for the day. I would like for you folks to be reminded to get out to our Facebook page and like it. Also, watch our videos on YouTube. We stream every show, and then we capture that and put it up on YouTube so that you can watch it. You can send an email to your friends and share that link and hopefully build our audience. That gentleman who called earlier is a loyal listener and a watcher. He catches us in Tennessee. So we have folks who I see on our website coming from all over the nation. And our show is growing, but we need your help to continue that process. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. You can also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/America's Voice Now. And then you can also find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org. We try to keep it simple and make it easy for you to find us. And please do yourselves and the show a favor. Share our links on our videos with your friends. And make sure that they have an opportunity to catch a show so that they can become a loyal listener as well. That gentleman who called from Tennessee, he's been sending me emails. He and I have communicated quite a few times back and forth with email. And I got to love that guy. I mean, here he is in Tennessee listening to us out here in Missouri. And so he's catching it on streaming video and on YouTube. And I applaud him. Thank you for being a loyal supporter and listener. For those of you who do support us financially, we greatly appreciate that. Anyone else who would like to, you can find a link on our page on americasvoicenow.org where you can make a donation through PayPal, and or you can send funds to us if you have the wherewithal to do that. You can mail it to America's Voice Now, 10 Court Square, West Plains, Missouri, 65775. We're going to be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. bright and early and running until 9. And on Saturday, I'm talking with possibly having Joe and Denise Dixon back on to talk about their upcoming plans as they move forward in life. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Or, I'm sorry, we'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day.
To the point. Well, let me get to the point. FM News Talk for the Ozarks is FM 107.1, The Point, KBMV.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. Discouraging news on the U.S. economy. But not much reaction so far on Wall Street. Fox Business Network's Dennis Neal live on the markets.
Stocks trying to shake off a shocker on the U.S. economy. GDP shrank in the fourth quarter instead of growing a tepid 1% as expected.